One huge benefit of Pentium 4 is they are cheap as chips. If you're looking for a Windows 98 gaming machine, you can spend a lot of money on Super Socket 7 gear, slot 1 machines, Socket 370, Intel Pentium 3, Duality. Quite expensive these days. They attract a higher and higher premium each day. Pentium 4 does not. You can still get them for very low money. Just look around on eBay, classifieds, ask around in your circle of friends or at work. Chances are you might even get one for free. So if you are on a budget, and it doesn't matter if you're buying a complete system or you're hunting down just a motherboard, just a processor and some compatible RAM, prices are very, very good. Even if money is not the issue and you're happy to pay a little bit more, you will struggle finding good, branded and high performance retro hardware that is compatible with Windows 98. All the good stuff has been snatched up. And if you're looking for Pentium 4, you will actually be surprised that it's very easy to find stuff. A lot of people had a Pentium 4. A lot of businesses had a Pentium 4, so there's lots of hardware out there. And for some reason, Pentium 4 are not really sought after. So there's a bit of an opportunity for you here. So go after the good stuff, the Asus, the Gigabyte motherboards, It doesn't have to be an OEM motherboard, but it can. And if you're looking for a complete system, then don't mind going for a business machine. They're very reliable. They still have all the options in terms of PCI and AGB slots. Just make sure that you get an Intel chipset, and I'll talk a bit more about that later. But the bottom line is you should not have any trouble finding a Pentium 4 at the moment of you wanting to buy one. And that's quite a contrast to trying to look for high-spec Pentium 3, because all the good stuff has been snatched up and people are really hanging on to them now. With Pentium 4, you have a wide range of processors available. In the video, I'm going for a 2 GHz Pentium 4. I found it very compatible with all the software I'm using and still fast enough. However, you can go slower, all the way down to 1.4 GHz, or quite a bit faster, up to 3.4. Now, I don't have that 3.4 model, it's quite expensive, but I've got two 3.2 GHz chips, and they're quite a little bit faster. So it depends on what project you're after. If you want a really high performing machine and play DOS games in high resolution, you will need as much CPU power as possible. Go for 3.2. If you're looking for something in between that's not too fast, something around the 2.2, 2.4 GHz should be fine, should be cheap as chips and really easy to find. If you're trying to build a machine that's on a level of a Pentium 3 Duality in 1.4, well, just go for a 1.4, 1.6, 1.7 chip and you are ready to go. The bottom line is there's a huge range of chips, they're really easy to find, they are cheap and they just give you all the options. USB storage support is nothing special. However, all the machines up to Pentium 3 only support USB 1. Now, you might think, well, I'm using network or whatever, but it is really slow. And the good thing about Pentium 4, especially the 865 chipset, which I'm using in this video, supports USB 2.0. And I've got some comparisons here. All I did was I ran it in USB 2 speed first, then I went into the BIOS, turned off USB 2, and it slowed down to USB 1, and we can see just how much faster it is. This is 20 times as fast. So if you're copying a huge game, it will make a ton of a difference. A lot of the old motherboards do support USB. Even on a Pentium machine, you can get USB storage support. The problem is you only get 2 of them and they're all in the back. So if you're using a thumb drive and USB joystick, you already have used up all the USBs. The motherboard I'm using has 10 USB ports in total. There's 6 at the back and you can plug in 4 through headers. And using the header ports makes it possible to use the USB ports that are at the front of the case. Also something that's not possible on an old Pentium, Pentium 2 or Pentium 3 machine. They simply do not have that facility. Pentium 4 machines support all the storage interfaces from new and old. So if you want to plug in a modern SATA 3 hard drive, you can do that. The Intel chipset is actually really compatible. But it also has the legacy interfaces, the IDE interface and the floppy port. The IDE interface is actually quite critical because you need to use a CD-ROM drive that has the analog CD audio output at the back. And as far as I know, only the IDE drives support that. I have not seen a SATA drive that has those CD analog outputs, and you'll definitely need those because a ton of the Windows 98 and the late DOS games use CD audio track for music. Having decent hard drive performance is always important. It affects the time it takes for Windows 98 to boot and also the time that games take to load a new level. Lots of people out there optimize by getting separate PCI controllers or going down the SCSI route, but none of that is necessary if you go with a Pentium 4. Just use the SATA interface. I'm using a modern SATA 3 hard drive. It's a 2TB model. Using cTools, I limited the capacity to 220 GB, so I have no issues with Windows 98. I ran ATTO disk benchmark, and here's the result. Look at that performance, it is magnificent. At least to me, stability and reliability and compatibility is more important than raw performance. And if you're going for an Intel 86.5 chipset, you will not be disappointed. I had zero issues. Just make sure that you actually load the chipset driver software after you've installed Windows 98, and then also the USB 2 drivers. But then you're good to go and you have a machine that is so reliable and stable. I didn't have a single freeze or crash when I did all my benchmarks. So if you want something that is reliable and works, go for the Intel 86.5 chipset. The Pentium 4 supports a wide range of graphics cards. The main thing you need to watch out for is that only graphics cards with 1.5 volt support will work in a Pentium 4. So just be careful. Especially with the 3DFX Voodoo card, the only Voodoo that is compatible is the Voodoo 4 4500, which I have used in this video. And here are some benchmarks from a couple of range of games. Most games use the Oriole A3D sound technology, and I use two resolutions, 1024 by 768 and 1600 by 1200. And lots of cards are in the video, even some exotic cards like the S3 Savage 4 or the Savage 2000. The 3DFX is there, the Matrox G400, we've got a couple of GeForces, a couple of Radeons, and yeah, basically it just means you pick whatever card you feel gives you the right performance, the right speed with your processor, but the machine can take quite a wide range of cards. The Pentium 4 does a really good job at running DOS games. I'm using my standard boot menu with all the memory options, CD drive and mouse drivers, which you can get from my website. You need to choose the right sound card though. I recommend you go for an Oriole Vortex 2 card. Now, firstly, under Windows 98, that card is compatible with A3D, which is one of the highlights of Windows 98 gaming. But under DOS, it's got really good Sound Blaster support, but it also has a working wavetable interface. And I'm using the S1 Dream Blaster. It's a tiny general MIDI module. A guy from Belgium sells that. You can buy that for 30 euros. I'll put a link down in the description. And I'm just going to showcase a few DOS games and how that sounds under DOS.
New Atlanta, Sector 11, Building 71G, 7 April 2072, 11:13 p.m. Hacker begins unauthorized entry into the Tri-Optimum corporate network. 1:26 a.m. Hacker attempts to access protected files concerning Space Station Citadel. 1:33 a.m. Tri-Optimum security forces apprehend the intruder.
This is Edward Diego from Tri-Optimum. The charges against you are severe, but
And that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. As always, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so, and do start a conversation down below. I'm really eager to hear what your thoughts are about using a Pentium 4 as a Windows 98 retro gaming PC.